Hello, Annabelle and Sarah back again. Welcome to Navigating the Shift. In this video, I wanted to talk about jobs. We have talked about jobs in this channel before, but I can already feel it. There's like this fear of the fact that we're going to lose so many jobs in this new system. And I'll give you an example, because then they'll hopefully get our conversation started. The first one I'd heard of was this new technology that was coming out, which would help fight fires, because of course, when you have a disaster like we've had in Australia, where so many millions of acres have been burnt at a horrendous temperature, ridiculous fires that don't behave like normal, then people are out there looking for solutions to make sure that we can reduce the risk of this happening again. And somebody had come up with a product and went to explain it to a fire chief. And the fire chief looked completely horrified and said, but if you use this, how are we going to get out there with a hose and put it out and be, basically it was almost like, that's our job. We're a hero because we get to fight the fire. And if you prevent us from doing that, then we don't want your technology. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those.
Crazy.
And it was also, one time when I went into hospital and I was talking to the guy who was a specialist in infectious diseases, and he might have been, I don't know, in his mid-20s, late 20s, I guess. He'd probably just fresh out of med school specialist area. And I'd explained to him Tom Palladino's technology of being able to use scalar energy to remove molecules out of your body. Palladino's already got coronavirus added to his list of viruses that he can break down in the body. Yeah. And so I explained this to him. This was a couple of years ago, before coronavirus was around, or it was around. It was already patented, but it wasn't out in the wilderness. And I said, this technology is here. It can be it can be done remotely. And he just walked away because he's just spent probably 8 years studying to be a specialist and an expert. And if you're going to threaten my expertise with some new technology that makes me redundant, I don't want to hear it. Now, that's a specialist job. Fireman is a very specialist job too, but there are so many jobs out there that are going to disappear very, very quickly with the new technology that's coming out. Futurists have been saying that for quite a long time. And I think we need to get over the preservation, protecting ourselves and our job and the fear of losing our job, and learn to embrace this new way of living. And money is the key, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that whole fear of losing your job is so ingrained into this reality that oh no, how horrible, I could be homeless, I'm gonna end up on the streets, I won't be able to afford my luxury vacation.
Yeah, but people are worried about actually feeding their kids and paying their rent and mortgage, though. It is a really serious fear around that. They see how many are homeless. So the homeless are growing and growing, and nobody's looking after them. They don't want to join those crowds.
Yeah. There's got to be, but I guess by extension, then we have to have a change to the financial system.
Yeah.
In order for this shift to work. And, I don't think we're going to have just this continued long carrying on forever years and decades of transformation. Once we get to that tipping point, we'll have the event and things are just going to shift really fast.
So that's what we have to be prepared for. We have to be prepared to give away the career that we've worked towards for all these years and be open to whatever is new. And if we can cover all our expenses and everything's covered, for a start, I think a lot of people will sleep for about 3 months. Because honestly, how many people are totally burned out, stressed, exhausted, not just from the way that they live, a very busy schedule, but of all the wars that we were just talking about in the last video, all this bashing against each other and not understanding each other's perspectives. That is exhausting too. If you want to put your hand up and say, hey, I know something, and you just get stoned by a circle of people that are desperate to fight against you, that is exhausting. I'm assuming you watching our video, you're probably on a similar vein. You're not necessarily running with the herd, and it can be exhausting trying to stand up to be yourself. So as we move towards this new way of living, that there's a couple of things you need to do. First of all is to turn your attention towards your own creativity. Because if we're suddenly going to end up with all the expenses covered and you're out of a job, once you've done your sleeping for 3 months, that you need something to do. You're not going to just sit there and stare at the telly. And you don't want to get into gossipy circles either. It's about being creative. I think this is what the new world will be all about. And so if you find that creativity nice and early, even if you're only doing a little tiny piece of it, whether it's a painting, it's sticky on my hand, or whether it's a painting or or writing or singing and dancing or, sculpture or gardening, make an amazing little garden in the front of your house or whatever it's going to be, find a creative outlet is so important now.
I think so. I think of all these people who they retire from work and then they just,
what they die. They literally die because there's nothing to do and there's no life left.
Because they've never developed anything. All they've done is work, little slaves all our lives if they have their control over us. That's the plan, right?
Yeah. So trusting as well, trusting that that new financial system will come in. It is coming in.
It is, yeah. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. There's an organization that's already designed the thing and has all the computer stuff ready. And I was listening to X22 report today. I didn't get all the way through it because I ran out of time, but he was talking about the various ways it looks like the Trump administration right now is setting up the economy to make a big change, to get to drop the central bank, go on, the gold backing and all that stuff, and that we just need to get it's not going to happen before the election, but they're getting stuff into place in the background and might let the economy tank enough that people go, we got to fix this, never let this happen again, and go, well, we have this as a backup. So who knows? I mean,
yeah.
But
it's interesting because none of us have a clear idea necessarily. I haven't heard of any clear ideas that have resonated with me so far as to how that change is going to happen. One thing does seem clear is that we will not have a massive, massive stock crash that causes suicides like other stock crashes have done in the past. It will not be so disastrous that we'll be all on soup kitchens. It'll be some other way that they can bring in that backup system. I don't know if it'll overlap or it'll just be a surprise. I'm not sure how it will go about, but I don't think it'll be an absolute disaster. We have all been told for many years now, quite a long time, to have backup food and water and fuel if you need it, to live off grid basically for maybe 4 weeks maximum, 2 to 4 weeks. After that, the army would kick in anyway and bring supplies, but just to make sure that you are covered and you're safe and there's no stress if you've got what you need within that time. We were told that a long time ago because they were expecting the mini ice age. And I was like, really? Didn't the ice age last several thousand years? But I think what they mean by mini is that even there in America, you've had incredibly cold temperatures in some winters. Ridiculously cold, like way, way beyond Arctic temperatures, beyond what you've had before. So
in the north and northeast, yeah.
Yeah, so just making sure you're covered for that for 4 weeks is definitely it'll bring you some peace of mind, at least. Just pop it in the cupboard. Don't have to fear, just have it ready to go if you need it.
Yep. I just make sure I have, rice, a bunch of beans of different kinds, dry storage, sealed containers. We're good. It's something to eat.
Yeah, barbecue if you've got it with a gas tank is always handy. That's off the grid as well.
I always thought maybe a little cook stove.
Yeah, camp stove. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
it's a bit trickier if it's in the middle of winter for people to keep themselves warm if there was no fire or gas, no electricity or gas.
Yeah, we were without power for 3 days in the winter.
During your fires?
No, wait. I think it was just the gas was down. Something, I can't remember what it was, but for like 2 nights in the winter, I had no heat. And, it was just like, get all the blankets, climb under the covers. I'm not getting out of bed. It was cold in my house. And I have a double pane windows and good insulation and stuff like that. So, I mean, probably for most people, it wouldn't have been cold, but I'm a wimp. I don't like it cold. And I'm a Southern California gal originally.
And we had a time where we lost water for about 3 days. I thought, well, this is interesting. What's going to happen here? So, if you really need to, you'd go down to the gym because it wasn't a very big area, go down to the gym for a shower. And we're buying bottled water, but you can survive. You can have a sponge bath, and you don't actually need that much water. There are other things that you can make as a meal, but that's basing it on the fact we still had electricity and gas.
or you cook silver or barbecue.
Yeah. So it's possible to do. Obviously, we're just so not used to it. We're used to all the comforts of life, but we can cope.
We can.
Okay, but that's all for this.
That's it. Bye.
Bye.